Let's get started on this little bird called a bee eater. So first of all, we're laying in some of that bright yellow on his breast. And then that orangey color, the red is mixed with that yellow. And let that blend into part of that yellow up there as well. And then come back in with some of the bright red and let that blend in with that orange that you first laid in. It's nice to let the colors blend together. A little bit more orange to let that blend in, and then just soften the edges. Just wipe off your brush and then soften those edges and just to take away the hard edges around the yellow. And now I'm laying in some of that cerulean blue. It's kind of a lighter blue. And lay that in with his beak and around his eye. And then you're laying in that green. And of course, the way you get the darker green is a little bit more pigment than water, but a little bit of the blue mixed with that green. That's called a sap green. And now I'm wetting that and softening those edges again and letting that kind of blend in. Just disturb that. Then bring that green down the rest of his tail. And then lay the black in. You're going to leave just a little bit of a reflection on the eye. And there's that orange color will be the outside of the eye. So I'll come back in with the black later. So initially that is kind of an orangey color of the eye. Now because this is wet, this is dry after you laid that in before, now you can come back over with that, it's kind of a burnt sienna color. That goes nicely over that orangey color, and then you can lay in some of those brush strokes. Very lightly. Same thing with the green. Just come back in the tip of your brush and lay in the direction of those little feathers. Don't overdo this, but just a little bit here and there. And you're doing that after it dries, of course. It doesn't take long for it to dry. Little wispy lines to show that shape of those feathers. Again, don't overdo that. Okay, now you're going to come back in very gently and starting at the very end of that beak with that black color. Very carefully, so you don't get a glob at the end. Just barely lay that in there so there's a nice point at the end. because he has a real pointy beak. Then around that blue color, gonna lay in that black around the orange of that eye. Because that's dry, that orange underneath that, then you can lay in the little dot that is going to be that the pupil. You can do that a little bit later. And so a little bit of black underneath that green for part of that feathers. There's the dot. Just lay that in there, and then you're going to come back and go over that dot again to make that nice and dark. So the dark black underneath that green feather, that'll make that pop. That dark color against the green will really make it pop. Okay, now come back over that yellow area. Gonna, right up against the yellow, we're going to add some of that black. That bee eater bird is really bright with these bright oranges and yellows, and against the black, it really makes them a colorful, dynamic bird. Those bees want to watch out before these guys come after them. I guess that's why it's called a bee eater. It must eat bees. I don't know what the... Okay, going back over the black. This is called glazing. One layer seems dark, but when it dries, it lightens up. So you want to go back over it again. Little bit of feathering going on there. Be careful not to go over that blue too much. You've got that bright blue against there. And then, of course, go back over the breast where that black is. Make that really dark. Now you can see how this is starting to take shape. Once a couple of layers of this black, it makes it really stand out well. But it's not dark to begin with. You want to do this in layers. It's called glazing. One layer, then it dries, then the next layer, and then that dries, and you go over it again. I usually do about 3 layers. And so to show those are soft, supple feathers, now you can go back over that a little bit more with that burnt sienna, just to indicate some soft feathers. It's not really feathers, it's the breast. It's just that soft, supple. Going to do the same thing with that, with the greens. Just go back over it and do a little bit of line work. Again, not too much, don't overdo that. Okay, now we're coming back in just a gray color. Just mix some, really it's just that burnt sienna and black. Just mix a few of those to get a nice gray color. There's a lot of colors you can use to get a good gray. Sometimes it's just water with black. You can do that too. Now I'm going over that and softening those edges just a little bit. Okay, mixing up a good amount of blue. This is going to be the background. And dropping in some of those splashes. Just load your brush and just flick those against there. And I soften them up just a little bit. You might want to practice that flicking a little bit before you do it on the painting, just to get the right amount of water on there. Now I'm going back over the little stem that he's sitting on and going underneath. It's darker underneath so that the light is shining on the other side. And just going back over it just a little bit to give a little bit of shape to that head. A few more dark lines, just touching up just a little bit. That black needs to stand out just a little bit more on his feather back there. So one more layer of glazing there makes it really stand out. A few more dots here and there, just to give it a splashy look in the background. Shows some interest. So this is the end of our video. I hope you've enjoyed this little bird video, our little bee eater. And if you want to go back and stop the video and take your time on it, even start another one. You can do another drawing. Just look at the picture that you've already done and go back over it and keep practicing. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care now.